What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my review of I Know What You Did Last Summer, originally released back in 1997. I'm starting this review series because there's a new remake coming out soon, and I figured what better time to go back and revisit the original films. There's something really fun about diving back into a late 90s slasher, especially one that had such a big cultural impact. It's always interesting to rewatch these kinds of movies with fresh eyes after so many years, and this one in particular I gotta say, I really like it. It might not be in my all-time top tier of slashers, but it's definitely a strong entry in the genre and has a certain vibe to it that I find super compelling. There's a specific feel to this movie that sets it apart from a lot of the other horror flicks coming out around that time. While it clearly owes some of its success to the Scream boom, which had come out just a year before I Know What You Did Last Summer takes a different route. It doesn't lean into the meta or self-aware territory. Instead, it opts for a more grounded, straightforward horror story that's steeped in guilt, mystery, and paranoia. That darker, more serious tone is something I really appreciate. It feels like it wants to tell an actual story with real consequences, not just be a series of creative kills, even though it does have those too. Sure, it doesn't hit every single note perfectly, some elements feel a little off or undercooked, but there's this underlying moodiness to it that keeps pulling me back in. It's one of those movies I can throw on and still enjoy every time. Also, I'm not doing this review series alone. My buddy BANZZZ is joining me for the ride. He's reviewing these movies too, so if you're craving another opinion or just love diving deep into slasher content, definitely check out his channel. I'll drop a link to his stuff in the description so you can find it easily after watching this. It's always fun reviewing these with a friend. He might see things totally differently than I do, which makes the whole thing more interesting. I Know What You Did Last Summer tells a story of 4 friends who accidentally hit a man with their car and, in a panic, decide to dump the body and move on. A year later, one of them gets a note that says, "I know what you did last summer," and it kicks off a tense chain of events. They're soon stalked by a mysterious figure in a rain slicker wielding a hook, and the movie becomes a slow burn slasher that blends suspense, guilt, and paranoia as their secret begins to tear them apart. Now let's get into the positives. The first thing I'll say is that the Fisherman killer is honestly one of the most underrated slasher villains out there. He might not be as flashy or as creative as some of the others like Ghostface or Freddy Krueger, but that simplicity works in his favor. The black slicker, the hook, it's all super iconic in its own right. It gives him this haunting, almost urban legend kind of presence, like something you'd hear about in a ghost story. And visually, he really stands out. That silhouette is burned into my brain. The atmosphere of this movie is another big strength. It's drenched in this kind of moody, coastal gloom that really adds to the unease. The small fishing town setting is perfect. It feels isolated, quiet, like there's nowhere to run when things start going wrong. And the way it's shot, beautiful. The cinematography here doesn't get talked about enough. There are so many great compositions and moments where the lighting and camera movement add tension without being too showy. It gives the film this polished, almost classy horror aesthetic that I wasn't expecting the first time I watched it. The cast is solid too. Jennifer Love Hewitt gives a really grounded performance as Julie. She's not your typical scream queen, and you can actually feel the weight of everything she's going through. Sarah Michelle Gellar is great as Helen, probably my favorite character in the movie. Her arc is surprisingly tragic, and that chase scene with her running through the alleyway during the parade, easily one of the best sequences in the whole film. It's tense, well shot, and it's a perfect example of how the movie builds suspense. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Ryan Phillip also do a decent job rounding out the group, even if their characters aren't quite as fleshed out. But there's just enough personality and drama between them to make the group dynamics interesting. And yeah, I can't not mention the "what are you waiting for" scene. It's become infamous for how over-the-top and melodramatic it is. Julie just spins around in the street, yelling into the sky, but honestly, I kind of love it for that. It's ridiculous, sure, but it's also memorable and kind of emblematic of this era of horror. It shouldn't work, but somehow it does. It's one of those scenes that sticks with you, even if it makes you laugh a little. But as much as I enjoy this movie, it's definitely not perfect. So let's move on to the negatives, and one of the main ones that comes to mind is the third act. It's where things start to fumble a bit, especially with the killer reveal. Once we finally find out who the Fisherman really is and why he's doing what he's doing, it kind of deflates the tension. He goes from being this creepy, faceless threat to just a guy explaining his plan on a boat. It strips away a lot of that mystique and fear, and it's a bit of a letdown considering how strong the build-up was. I think they could have handled that reveal in a more ominous or ambiguous way. There are also a few noticeable plot holes and logic gaps that start to stand out once you've seen the movie a couple times. Some things just don't fully add up, especially regarding who the killer is and how he pulls off certain moments. And while most of the kills are handled decently, a few of the transitions are really abrupt. There'll be this great tension building, and then suddenly the scene just ends. It messes with the pacing and makes some of the kills feel less impactful than they should. Also, the early scene with the guy on the rock near the beach, while it's meant to kick off the mystery, ends up feeling kind of convoluted once you know how everything ties together. It tries to be clever, but it gets a little messy when you think back on it. Still, despite those flaws, I genuinely enjoy I Know What You Did Last Summer. It has a strong villain, a great atmosphere, and some truly memorable moments that have helped it stand the test of time. Sure, the third act stumbles a bit, especially with the killer reveal, and there are some pacing issues and plot holes if you look too closely. But while it might not sit at the very top of the slasher hierarchy, it's earned its place as a beloved 90s horror classic. It's not perfect, but it delivers plenty of style, suspense, and substance to make it a fun and worthwhile watch, especially for fans of the genre. I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. So, what do you guys think of this movie? Do you love it, think it's just okay, or maybe even dislike it? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to comment below. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.